Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we will be focusing on life insurance. This presentation is brought to you by the California Society of CPAs. My name is Darrell Young, and I'm a volunteer board member and the chair of the Financial Literacy Committee for the Peninsula Silicon Valley chapter of CalCPA. I operate a wealth management practice in the San Francisco Peninsula area. As you can see in today's agenda, we will be discussing the basics of life insurance. We intend for this presentation to be interesting and informative. The data points contained herein are believed to be current. Please remember, however, that this presentation is intended to convey general information, which may not be applicable to your personal situation. Please do not interpret the information here as advice for your personal circumstances. You should consult with your personal advisor, or certainly feel free to give my office a call. You can also submit a question online through my firm's website. Let's get started. So what exactly is life insurance? Well, insurance in general represents the transfer of financial risk from one party to another party in exchange for payment. And so life insurance is exactly that, insurance based upon the protection of one's livelihood or life. Who may need life insurance? As you can see on the bottom left, could be anybody from corporate executives to business owners, heads of household, basically anybody who is responsible financially for another or those who want to leave a legacy. As you can see on the right, you can tell that there are three parties typically to a life insurance policy. The policy holder or the owner, let's assume that that is the person who's paying the premiums. The insured, that person is the so-called trigger person. So if the insured person were to pass away or become critically ill, that's when the third party beneficiaries may receive the death benefit or the proceeds. This, of course, is all provided for by the insurance company. What exactly could life insurance proceeds cover? Well, naturally, it could be any household expenses or debts. Typical uses could be covering the home mortgage, putting dependents through schooling, through college, could be elderly care, could be medical expenses, funeral expenses, any number of things. Now, life insurance is intended to cover risk of death of the insured, but certain circumstances may negate that coverage. Now, contracts can vary from one to another, so again, please take this as general information, but what happens if the insured happens to have a very dangerous occupation? For example, let's say skydiving instructor, or let's say that death was caused by drug or alcohol abuse or suicide or some sort of legal activity. Well, again, there may be circumstances that negate the coverage, so you should be aware of these things within the contract. But in a normal circumstance, what you would get as far as the benefit is guarantee the proceeds will be paid, and that is based upon the claim paying ability of the insurance company. You can immediately create a legacy, even without having any sort of net worth to start with. And the life insurance benefits are typically paid out to the beneficiaries tax-free. How much coverage might be needed? Well, that is a question that can vary from family to family. But again, let's say that the family is trying to cover certain expenses, such as mortgage, education for children. A financial advisor might be able to help you detail out those various expenses and help you determine how much coverage you may need. When would it be a smart time to look at life insurance? Well, any number of factors of life might cause a person to take another look. Getting married, buying a home, of course, welcoming dependents into your family, children, starting a business. So any number of things might be the factor causing a person to want to either look at getting life insurance or perhaps increasing the policy coverage. Types of life insurance. Well, there are many, and this is, frankly speaking, a oversimplified view of the various types. But let's take a look at temporary coverage, term coverage, versus permanent, sometimes referred to as cash value coverage. Term policies, fairly common, represent coverage over a particular time span. So let's say it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. In a hypothetical scenario, let's say that I, as the primary breadwinner of my household, have a wife and I have a son to care for, and so again, because I'm the primary breadwinner, let's say that I simply want to have insurance coverage until my son becomes an adult. So I might look into term coverage for 20 years or so. The other types of life insurance coverage, permanent, whole life, universal life, variable, have different features and benefits. Whole life being probably the most straight or ordinary version of life insurance, meaning that if I was the policy owner, I just want to have this coverage for a level death benefit, for a level premium for the remainder of my lifetime. Universal gives me a little bit more flexibility with respect to my premium payments and with respect to the death benefit coverage. So for example, down the road, when my son is grown and I don't feel that I need as much life insurance coverage, I could, for example, reduce my premium payments and take a reduced death benefit along with. Variable universal life means that I'm allowing the cash value of the policy to be invested in sub-accounts, and therefore I expose it to market risk, just like any other type of investment. Again, please keep in mind that this is an oversimplified summary of the various types of life insurance. There are a lot of complexities here, and for the purposes of this presentation, please take this as just an overview. Now, where can you find life insurance? Certainly, those who work for large companies, you might be able to find coverage through your employer. Whether or not it's adequate coverage or the amount that you want is another question. You might, for example, find it through professional associations. For example, I'm a CPA, and I might be able to find life insurance through my local association, the California Society of CPAs. I might work with an outside agent who works for an insurance company. I might go through a broker, or I might look and find something online, self-service. So there are any number of ways that you could find life insurance. Certainly, there are a lot of factors in choosing your provider. You want to make sure that your needs are met. You want to make sure that the company providing the insurance is in strong financial condition, and so therefore you have some assurance that 20 or 30 years down the road, when the life insurance proceeds are needed, that the company will still be there to pay those claims. Starting a life insurance plan. What is involved? Well, as somebody who just recently did this, because my son, 6 months old, of course, triggered me to want to look at my own insurance coverage, I went through the application process, as you can see on the left-hand side. I looked at various providers. I looked at some quotes. Once I decided on the one that I wanted to proceed with, I filled out the application. In this particular case, I had to undergo a medical exam, answer some questions. I actually had to have blood drawn, etc. And then once I got my approval, I started paying the premiums, and my policy is in force. Certain steps may not apply. So, for example, if you are getting life insurance through your employer, as we mentioned on the previous slide, you may not need to go through a medical check by virtue of the fact that because this is a corporate arrangement, the insurance company is accepting all applicants. Now, as you would expect, life insurance is risk rated, and so the pricing tiers are likely to depend upon your health. Whether you are in, for example, excellent health or just average health, those types of factors will affect your premiums. As you can see at the bottom, many large companies do offer life insurance to their employees, and most of those employees do act on that offering. What can your financial advisor do to assist you? Well, like so many other things financially, your advisor can help you set an overall plan, identify a suitable company, calculate how much coverage you may need, make sure that the coverage is going to be adequate for your family. Take a look and make sure that the premiums that are being quoted to you are competitive. And then in the case of variable policies, also want to make sure that your sub-accounts are performing at a market level. Now, of course, interestingly enough, you'll notice on the right-hand pie chart that about 2/3 of the insurance policies sold happen to be cash value policies. And the reason for that, I think, is fairly simple. Although cash value policies cost significantly more than term policies, death is one of those things that is an absolute certainty. Unlike car insurance, for example, where you pay for it and you may or may not get into an accident, in the case of life insurance, we all know that we're mortal. And so death is not a question of if, but a question of when. So in the case of cash value, you know that you're accumulating value in the policy, and that value will be returned to you at some point. Topics for future discussion. Well, again, we focused on life insurance for today, but there are other types of insurance, such as long-term care, long-term disability, related products such as annuities, and the general topic of estate planning. Please be reminded that our firm, Poplar Global Wealth Management, believes that the cornerstones for financial success are, as listed on the right, planning in accordance with your goals and your risk factors, giving back to your community, working with people whom you respect and trust, and maintaining a positive attitude and a competitive awareness at all times. We believe that if you are following these cornerstones, you have the makings for financial success. And of course, there are no shortcuts. With that said, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention today. I welcome any questions, as I had mentioned earlier. Thank you.